Every now and then, the world would get to witness the type of fighter with cinder blocks in their hands, starching fighters left and right. And while outside of fighting, they would be lovable, funny, and have a good heart. This man hails from the South. From New Orleans, Louisiana to Houston, Texas. From saving lives out in a Category 4 hurricane to holding the record for the most KOs in the UFC. Here's why Derrick The Black Beast Lewis should be on your watch list.
Beast! Yet again! Man! That is one frightening individual.
Like most of the UFC fighters, Derrick was also a problem child, brought up in a single mother household with 7 siblings who got the worst of him. Derrick was often involved in street fights, which ended up getting him charged with aggravated assault just 2 weeks after his high school graduation. Then, alas, the last nail in the coffin. The violation of his probation landed Derrick in jail for 3.5 years. Dedicated to turning his life around for good, Derrick decided to pick up combat sports again. While he had already been accustomed to boxing in the past, Lewis instead opted for MMA. After dominating his opponent in his very first fight, Lewis knew he was made for this sport. Soon after Derrick turned professional in 2010, he built a record of 4-1 before almost making his debut for Bellator, where his opponent, Thiago Santos, had to pull out of the fight due to an injury. Even though Lewis's journey was cut short at Bellator, he left the promotion and went unbeaten in his next 6 fights, winning and defending the Legacy FC heavyweight belt. Derrick's resume was enough to get a call from Dana and the UFC. After signing with the UFC in 2013, with an already impressive reputation of being a knockout artist, the Black Beast announced himself to the world. His first fight in the octagon saw him dispose of Jack May by TKO in the first round. Derrick would follow that up by going up against Guto Innocent and knocking him out in under a round as well. It was a fun and exciting style to watch, as Lewis would live and die by the sword. From his debut in 2014 up to his fight with Gabriel Gonzaga in 2016, all of Lewis's wins were by some sort of knockout. Talk about packing a punch. By 2017, the limelight was on Lewis, especially after his fight with Travis Browne, where Lewis called out Ronda Rousey in a hilarious fashion after TKOing her husband in the second round. Eventually, UFC fans started noticing him, and they were eager to see what he was capable of if he was really tested. This brought Fabricio Verdum into the picture, an experienced fighter who was also a former heavyweight champion. But that summer, Lewis's hometown got hit by Hurricane Harvey. Seeing all the devastation it brought with itself, Derrick couldn't sit still and went out in his lifted pickup truck, helping anybody he could. In his interview with ESPN in August 2017, it was said that he had rescued over 100 people. Bad luck struck again as the fight with Verdum never came to fruition since Lewis sustained an injury. The following year, Lewis would rack up a couple big wins over high-profile fighters, such as Marcin Tybura, who he went to war with before putting his lights out in the third.
Who will look to go to work? He connects! Look out! The Black Beast is right back! The Black Beast!
And Francis Ngannou, in a largely lackluster and gun-shy affair. However, it was his showdown against Alexander Volkov that stood out in particular. Surviving Volkov's onslaught and ground assault through the 3 rounds and then turning the tide around in the last 20 seconds with his staple right-hand bombs made the damn thing look like it was straight out of a movie. A strong contender for comeback of the year.
The winner, Derrick Lewis. Derrick, why'd you take your pants off?
My balls was hot.
I understand. Listen, man.
As it is with all fighters who try to show an alternate persona for their fights, Lewis's early UFC career was filled with his flamboyant celebrations and hilarious post-fight interviews. While these actions did develop a reputation for Lewis not being serious regarding his fighting career, the reality was something else. Up until his first shot at UFC Gold at UFC 230, Lewis had won 9 out of his last 10 fights, 7 of them by KO. Derrick Lewis, a standout in the heavyweight division, had claimed a place alongside elite fighters like Stipe Miocic, Cain Velasquez, and Junior Dos Santos. During the build-up to his title bout against Daniel Cormier, Lewis's humor was on full display. He notably poked fun at Cormier for appearing in a Popeye's chicken commercial, injecting a playful rivalry into the pre-fight narrative that fans found entertaining.
He disrespected that Popeye's chicken on a commercial a few years ago.
This blend of humor and bravado has become a signature aspect of Lewis's public persona. In the octagon, Lewis's approach to fighting is aggressive and straightforward, relying on his orthodox stance to launch heavy overhand rights. However, his fight with Cormier highlighted significant areas for improvement, particularly his wrestling and submission defense. Cormier exploited those weaknesses, and over halfway into round 2, Lewis had to tap out to a rear naked choke.
A quick night at the office. Still the undisputed UFC.
With his dreams of being the UFC champion put on hold, Lewis picked himself back up. Working on his stamina and defensive wrestling, the Black Beast would go 2-1 in his next 3 fights, leading up to Alexei Oleinik. History would be made in August 2020, as fight fans witnessed Lewis TKO Oleinik early in the second round to set the record for the most knockouts by a heavyweight. Derrick made sure to display his power against his next big opponent, who was none other than Curtis Blaydes. Once again, we were treated to a terrifying knockout as he put Blaydes to sleep with a devastating uppercut, countering ill-fated takedown attempt in the second round. This brings us to his second title shot, where he faced off against Cyril Gane in August 2021. Now, don't get me wrong, but Derrick looked more of a brawler here than he did a kickboxer. After all, there are just some things you can't do when you stand at 265 pounds. But man, oh man, did Cyril Gane show his technical superiority in this fight. Lewis was getting confused and frustrated as he couldn't find Gane's chin through all the feints, footwork, and leg kicks. As the fight progressed, Derrick found himself getting outclassed and jacked up without having a response for it. By the third round, a combo landing flush on the Black Beast started to spell the end of the contest. Ultimately, Lewis would go down by TKO, ending his second title shot worse than the first attempt. The resilient fighter from the South would quickly bounce back, however, and keep on fighting. In his return to the cage 4 months later, Derrick would add to his record of knockouts, separating Chris Daukaus from consciousness.
Lewis is punching big right. Oh, and Lewis puts him out. There is your knock.
However, destiny had other plans for Lewis. A 3-fight losing streak would follow, taking L's from Tuivasa, Pavlovich, and Sergey Spivak. It felt like Derrick's mojo had just vanished into thin air. He couldn't seem to catch a break. Although he would eventually collect another head from Rogerio de Lima, Lewis would take a short-notice replacement fight against Jailton Almeida at UFC Sao Paulo as his last appearance in the octagon. The bout didn't go his way, as he showed an improved ground game, but it was clear that Jailton Almeida was the superior grappler and took him down for the entirety of the fight, preventing Lewis from throwing his patented bombs. Despite recent setbacks, Derrick Lewis is determined to reclaim his former glory. Holding the record for the most knockouts in UFC history at an impressive 14, Lewis is still a force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight division. He's set to take on Rodrigo Nascimento, who enters the octagon on a 3-fight win streak, looking stronger than ever. This fight will determine whether the Black Beast can maintain his position in the UFC rankings and start another run towards the title. Catch all the action at UFC ESPN 56, as Lewis seeks redemption while Nascimento aims to continue his winning streak. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe for more exciting content. Until next time, take care, and thanks for tuning in.